think we all know a huge gap in the educational system of our children is finances. We just don't learn that shit in school, like, because it's taboo to talk about, which is completely bullshit, because then you end up with adults that have six figures of debt before they even get started in life, and that is no way to start life. Hello, you guys. We are in a bit of a different setting today. I happen to be up in Maine at my childhood home, and I have to film this video. So here we are outside with the birds and the breeze. So hopefully you can hear me okay. And I thought it was pretty fitting to film this video here at my childhood home just because a lot of narrative behaviors and patterns that get instilled in you are adopted from childhood age. So it just seems fitting that I'm here talking about money mindset and my childhood home. And before I get into any of this, please understand that by saying these things, or expressing my opinion on money mindset, I'm not saying anything negative about my parents or anybody else's parents or anything like that. I think parents are just doing the best that they can with the tools, resources, and skills that they have. And that's all we can really ask of parents, right? So here I grew up with my three older brothers, and whenever we wanted money for something, it was always really the same kind of taglines that were given back. And it seems like, from what I can tell, a lot of people kind of encountered these same general narratives. It was always things like, money doesn't grow on trees. Where do you think that money's going to come from? We can't afford that. And I get it. To a point, you probably are trying to squelch like a child's every whim and desire. So I understand that it was, as a kid, you're probably like, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. So what the heck else do you say at a certain point? So I certainly understand. And it sounds like that's just the narrative most people got when they were growing up. And honestly, it was probably the narrative my parents got when they were growing up. So it was just, again, that ingrained behavior and narrative expressing itself into adulthood. So that is very much the case for myself as well. And growing up, my birth mother, she very much has always lived below the poverty line. That's just her lifestyle. She's totally fine and comfortable there. Like, she's made it happen for all these years, making minute amounts of money. So that's just her, and so I had these two different dynamics. And if you guys don't know my backstory, I followed the societal narrative of, you go to school, you get good grades, you go to college, you get the degrees, so you can get a better job and get a higher paying job. So that's what I did. And I decided to go to grad school, and I came out of grad school in total owing just shy of $200,000 worth of student loans. Plus I had like used car loan and credit cards. But for some reason, the pride in me and that narrative from childhood of, we can't afford that, where do you think that money's going to come from? I don't know why, but it made me so beyond too proud to ever ask my dad and stepmom for money. And so when I went to college, it was very much, you can do whatever you want, but it's on your dime. So I was totally fine with that. The only time I ever had to ask my dad for money was my first semester of college. I didn't realize how expensive textbooks were, so I did ask him. I think I had to ask him for like $500 to cover my textbooks, because I didn't know you could take out extra student loans to cover your school expenses. I didn't learn that until after. And I went into college and grad school totally blind to all of this, because, I don't know, there's no, at least in our school, like, we had counselors that were like, you need to figure out what you want to do, but then, like, they didn't tell you the practical steps of how you can make it happen. So I just went off and thought it'd be fine, and then it was like, what? I need $500 for all my books. This is crazy. That was the one and only time, and it killed me to ask my dad for money. It killed me. And I have no idea why. It just was, I have way too much pride, and he gave me the $500, and I never have asked for a dime from him ever since. So after college, I had credit cards and got myself out of that by going on a debt relief program. And then a couple years later, I went to grad school. I blindly picked a very expensive private grad school where I had to pay my own way. And After grad school, like I said, I had a little over $200,000 in total combined debt with student loans and everything else. And the job that I got after grad school was like $32,000 a year. So it was horrifying to have that amount of debt on that little of an income. Like, I was living in the hood at the time, sharing a studio apartment with my boyfriend at the time. Like, that building we lived in got raided by police at least 3 times that I was home to witness. And by the way, I had a full-time job, so this was just while I was home. And like, doing what I thought was right in society's eyes, and by that I mean going to school, and it's okay to take on student loans because you're going to get these higher paying jobs after. Just that narrative, following that, left me in the most toxic, harmful, scared money mindset I have ever been in my life. And that really sucks, and it's really a scary place to be in. And I'm saying, like, a couple $100 expense would have broken me. And thank God I just kind of made it through that time relatively unscathed. And meanwhile, my whole experience through college, after college, grad school, and then that horrible time at that job, I always was very close with my mother, and we talked a lot about money. And she was always very vocal about money growing up. Like, she never gave the narrative of, well, not that I ever asked her for a penny, because that would have been horrible, but she was very open with talking about money and her struggles with money. And anytime like the property tax bill would come, like, oh my God, there goes all my money, or a car expense would like really set her back, just because she, like I said, lived below the poverty line. And she never had much money to speak of whatsoever. And like I said, she's always been fine, but there's just never been extra. But because she would openly talk about money, it was easier for me to commiserate with her about my money experiences. So anytime something expensive came up, or I mean, I just lived paycheck to paycheck for so long that any little thing would be like a bit financially devastating. And not always, but even just, my God, a trip to the grocery store would have been rough. It was rough back then. And I knew my mother would always commiserate with me on these things, and she had a very different set of narratives from, not different, but just she had her own set of narratives from my dad and stepmom. And so my mom would always say things like, oh man, that really sucks, like, we're just gonna be broke forever, it's our family curse to never have money. Like, I'm telling you, to this day she still says that it's our family curse to be in financial hardship all the time. Like, that's just where she sees herself. And so anytime, she has one sister, my aunt, and anytime my aunt, my cousins, anyone had a financial hiccup, it was just, oh, the family curse. And now, and I bought right into that, totally bought right into that. I just had struggled for so long. I just thought that that was going to be the way for me. It was always going to be a struggle. And of course, at the time, I didn't see these narratives that my mom was saying as negative. I just took it as that's how it is. So I would always talk to her when I had financial hiccups, because I would get that emotional support that I wanted to hear, that commiseration, that was a way that I felt supported. And I didn't stop and realize that it was like really solidifying this negative mindset around money. And it's not until very recently I realized that, actually. So it's just very interesting that I just held on to that for so long. So now that in 2018, when I got the job that I have now, I was still in fear and panic mode for 2018 and probably the bulk of 2019. And I just hoarded every penny, and I was so intent on getting out of debt. It was like I just kept living as if I was still only making $32,000 a year, but I was just taking all of that extra money, because now I'm making much more. Like, I just, every penny, I just got rid of debt. And luckily that worked to my favor. being so broke for so long finally worked in my favor. You know, like I kept that mindset of lifestyle, but I took all of my extra money and I just threw it at debt. Now at this point, I roughly put about 60% of my income to saving, investing, or debt pay down, which is crazy. But it's so weird. It wasn't until maybe late 2019, 2020 that I realized that that's crazy for most people. Um, it took me a couple years of working where I do, where we all are high earners. It took me a little while to realize how different I was from everybody else. And everybody else's mindset is we work this good job to have the lifestyle that we want. And as sad as it is, I know many people at work live paycheck to paycheck. Like, I don't know, I can't now. I still have a hard time wrapping my brain around how someone who makes six figures lives paycheck to paycheck. And you hear about that all the time, but it wasn't until it was pointed out to me at work that I'm the anomaly that I kind of realized that. Because, you know, I just went for so long putting every extra penny to my debt with other people around me buying houses, upgrading their vehicle, buying this, that, the other, whatever. Eventually, people started coming to me and saying, like, wow, that's really cool that you do that. That's amazing. And it took a slow trickle of those kind of comments over time to finally click in my head that I am the anomaly. I do things that are not normal when it comes to money. And I don't know, even to this day, I still don't feel safe or comfortable. Like the rug can't be pulled out from under me at any moment. I still, like, scarcity mindset's not a good place to be in. And it's very recently that I've gotten away from scarcity and finally being happy with and proud of the fact that I do live so differently from everybody else, and I am able to see money as a luxury to get my life to a better spot, as opposed to a luxury to allow me to have nice things. My whole existence now is to get out of the debt situation that I'm in because I followed the narrative of society and I did it stupidly without proper education. So I don't blame the system, the society, whatever, for my own fault. I take full responsibility for every promissory note I signed on every student loan. You guys know that. I've said that in every video. I expect no one to forgive a penny of this money. I expect me to handle it, pay it off, and move on, learn from my mistakes. And that's just how it is. And I even saying it out loud, I guess it sounds a little bit harsh, but that's just me. That's just my pride, my personal pride, personal responsibility. I don't know what you want to call it, but that's just how I feel about the situation. And switching my mindset from scarcity to a more fun, creative, what can I do with this life, this money that I am making. Of course, I'm going to continue to put a massive amount to investing in my debt and, you know, saving and whatnot. But I see it a lot differently now, and I see how those narratives from childhood can be a bit damaging to adulthood. Like, there's no need to look at money as a problem and I don't have enough. It's okay to look at it as, oh, instead of I can't, how can I? And I think that's a really important mindset shift for everybody, regardless of what situation you're in. And I wish I would have had that mentality even before getting the job that I have now. But either way, I'm super grateful that the shift has happened in my head, and wanted to make this video because I know so many people had the same narratives from childhood, and they see money the same way. And it's just, it doesn't have to be a source of pain. It can be a tool to get to a life that you want. It's taken a lot for me to stop and recognize how far I've come, which is a huge part of mindset, is being able to reflect on your progress and be proud of yourself no matter what steps you've taken, big or small. I finally feel set, whatever that means. I finally feel okay, you know? Like I feel like I'm out of like that scarcity, constant fight or flight mode, and when it comes to money, and that's a big deal. And I guess I just want to be some part of the voice that says something different other than, where do you think that money's gonna come from? It doesn't grow on trees. Like, we know. Okay? I know. We know. And I know, at least in my family, I want to be the one to end the generational negative narrative around money, which I don't even want kids anyway, so I guess it ends with me no matter what. But I don't know, it just makes me sad, I guess, in a way, you know, like, because I know where both parents got the narrative from, came from their parents, and I don't want that to continue anymore. I want, there needs to be education and not just an immediate shutdown of negativity. You know what I mean? Like, we need to be teaching, because damn, I think we all know a huge gap in the educational system of our children is finances. We just don't learn that shit in school, like, because it's taboo to talk about, which is completely bullshit, because then you end up with adults that have 6 figures of debt before they even get started in life, and that is no way to start life. It's fucked up. It's fucked up. But anyway, I feel like there's a change coming a little bit with like millennials and the younger generations. I feel like there are voices out there starting to say, hey, this is messed up. We need to do different. We need to do better. Like, we've learned, especially with the millennial student loan debt crisis, like, that should be a huge wake-up call, huge red flag, that we need education and not just hush hush, don't talk about it because it's taboo. That is such bullshit. And I just want to be a small part of the voice that says that's bullshit. Let's talk about it, because what good does it do not to talk about it? Zero. I want to be the poster child for student loan debt. It's just fucked up to say, but you know what I mean, right? Let's just end it. Let's just end this shit. It's bullshit. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you guys are new here and you don't know my whole debt story, you can check out this video right here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.